Sorry. Cyberpunk 2077. I think if people bet money that this would get delayed again, it'd be very long odds, but unfortunately it has been delayed again. So this time a much, much shorter delay. So originally it was, what had been prior to the podcast, I should say, is November 19th, and now it's getting pushed back to December 10th, which is pretty huge, I think, because, before we get into the thoughts on it, the key reason why they're flagging this is, and this is pretty fair when you think about it, they are now shipping genuinely to 9 different systems that they're targeting. I think I used to be able to reel it off, but especially now that with even the next gen, it's not just PS5 and Xbox Series X, it's also the Series S, which is a different model and a different configuration. And then, you have to go all the way back to 2013 with the original Xbox One, which was a little bit underpowered, even compared to the PS4. So, yeah, obviously through their own QA, they've had a lot of challenges there, and they even flagged that themselves, the co-founders, around, that they had a big challenge, shipping to the current gen and next gen and the PC and testing it all in the variations. Yeah, this game is funny, man. Like, it's keeps slipping, and, there's a lot of bad PR about this game as well. And I don't think it's going to affect the sales, of course. But one thing that I did laugh at was just one of the co-founders, Adam Badowski. It would be Budowski, actually, in Polish. He was in an investor meeting and they were talking about crunch, and he's like, it's actually not that bad, and it never was. And then unfortunately that message got leaked out to the wider public, and literally within like an hour or two, he sent this honestly groveling email out to the CDPR staff, saying, I misspoke, I'm just so stressed. And yeah, it's just like, it's a real rough time for CD Projekt Red at the moment. How did this news hit you when you heard it?
So I have two very mindsets about this. So keep that in mind when I give my first mindset. First of all, 21 days is nothing, right? From a gamer mindset. So people that are looking forward to playing this game, that are like super pumped, and that have been obviously looking forward to this game for 7 years, whatever it's been since it was announced. That's such a small amount of time, right? So when we talk about people sending bloody death threats and things like that, like, we know that's never justified, but in this case it's even less justified to me, because that's literally 3 weeks, right? But the other mindset of me is, well, while I say that 21 days is nothing from a game standpoint, from a business standpoint, it's huge. And it's huge in terms of like missing like the launch window by a few weeks, if you know what I mean. A window, I'm talking that in terms of like the first fortnight, let's say, of launch. And also when we're talking about, holiday gift purchases, Christmas and things like that.
Yeah, it's massive.
So it's, to me, this is nothing from a game standpoint, and I think that people are gonna remember this game got delayed, but when the game comes out and it ends up, I have all the confidence this game is going to be great. I think that it's going to be that part of it's going to be forgotten, but the business side is definitely affected. And when we start talking about the crunch stuff, I mean, we went into that topic a few weeks ago, and we've got different viewpoints on that stuff. I also know when talking about statements and things, I don't take stuff like that at face value, because it you also don't know the context and the tone, and if people are responding to stuff and things like that. I will say I haven't read the full statement. Maybe that is clearer there, but that's why with that stuff as well, I'm a bit like, honestly, I don't like crunch, but when we start talking about like internal statements and memos, I'm like, honestly, that's kind of it. I don't look too far into that, if that makes sense. But when it comes to the delay, like 21 days is huge from the business standpoint, but for anyone complaining that's just a gamer sitting there waiting to play this game, I mean, come on. It's 3 weeks. 3 weeks, like, it's nothing. Really,
it's just nothing. Very like unprofessional the way they've handled this whole situation, and just stacks of own goals along the way.
The last thing I want to say, sorry, is at least they've owned up to it a bit in terms of like they're even referencing recent statements on all the Twitter and going back and kind of saying, "Oh, well, we got that wrong" and stuff. So at least they're kind of, I think, owning up to a lot of that stuff. But anyway, sorry, continue.
But I think the thing is, and I think I said it in one of the podcasts early on. It just surprised me that it slipped so much. You pretty much, I would have taken the strategies what Nintendo did, which is, hey, we're going to release this on both consoles. So we're going to release this on PS5 and PS4. But the reality being, everyone knows the PS5 version is the version. That's the launch version. And it's kind of evolved into that. Like, even they're saying it themselves that the game runs awesome on next gen. So it's, reality is, by the time this game comes out, it's going to be a month after the next gen launch. People will slowly trickle in and get their consoles, and a lot of people are just going to say, hey, this is the only way you can play this game if you're not on PC. So it feels very strange to me that they didn't just kind of smarten up and go, hey, why don't we just launch this as a next gen game?
I think that would have upset a lot of people, though, because there's a lot of
it's how you
people
handle
that
it.
Yeah, but you got to think this game. I still think, regardless of how well they did it, this is a 7-year in development game, right? This isn't
Well,
a
it's
game that
more
was
than
announced
that. It
last
was
year.
like May 2012.
And the thing is that as soon as I guess it got re-announced, like when they finally unveiled it, to then say, okay, well, it's only going to be on next gen. Like, a lot of people don't adopt next gen right away, and not only that, we're in a situation where a lot of people aren't going to be able to get next gen consoles. So suddenly, other than having a PC, which not everyone has a PC, especially one that's going to be able to play this game that well, they wouldn't be able to play this game in any way if they didn't release it on current gen, which is the generation that they had kind of already committed to in a way.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm not saying don't release it on current gen. And look, a lot of these things are their own victim of their own success and then their own statements. So, I mean, it's very hard to do what I'm saying they should do, because they've made statements previously that they want this to be the defining defining generation game. So they want this to be regarded as the greatest PS4 game, the greatest Xbox One game. They've said that. So I kind of think they've already put themselves in a lot of trouble with their framing. And I mean, realistically, like, the game was always, from what I understand, the original date was always the 16th of April this year, which is like in a launch year. And there was pushback with people around Zelda. Like, Zelda definitely got delayed. Zelda could have come out earlier. The Breath of the Wild, I should say. It could have come out earlier on the Wii U, and they paused it and waited until the Switch was ready, and then launched it on the Switch, on the day one on the Switch. I just, yes, there was some people who were annoyed about it, but you know what? They all bought Breath of the Wild, and they probably bought it twice. Some crazy people bought it on Wii U and on the Switch, and may not even like the game that much. But yeah, I don't know. I just think the way they've handled it is so messy. If I was them, I would have already delayed this to late November, make it a big event. And it's kind of happened anyway, but just in a really clunky way. And I'm not sure, you never know. Like, maybe it's something internal into the studio where people were just like, we need this game out because we're like dying here. And, the more you delay it, the more you can kind of get people to work hard on it. Because if it got released, outside of the day one patch and the patching after that, man, there's a big slump for a lot of people after these big events. So,
I've got some advice about people that are looking forward to playing this game but don't need to play it on day one. Is wait.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to
wait.
No.
100%, because this game is going to get patches and patches and patches, and you never know. Especially with this game, seems super complex, and
yes,
there's going to be game-breaking bugs. There's going to be things that potentially corrupt your save or lock you out of quests or things like that. Wait, like, unless you need to play it day one, wait. Because, yeah, with this, the fact that they delayed it for 3 weeks just to get a day zero patch ready across multiple platforms, but still, there's going to be stuff they missed. That happened with The Witcher 3, happens with it. It happens with every game, but it's, they, as much as they're above it now, CD Projekt have a history in Eurojank, and I'm telling you, a patch is gonna probably end up saving you.
And you know, they've already stated that next year they're going to release a big next gen patch to take full advantage as much as they can of the next gen consoles. So, you know, you're not even getting the full cream experience probably on day one with Cyberpunk 2077. It's just like if you're willing to wait, right? Like, you know, if people are sending death threats, I don't think they're going to be waiting for like a day, year one patch, I guess you could call it. So, but that's definitely what I'll be doing. I know it's not great for the podcast, but yeah, I'll be playing this game a lot later down the track.
And whenever I hear about this whole death threat thing, I wish there was some kind of like mandatory thing that you had to be qualified to be able to get access to the personal usage of the internet or something. It's like, I don't know, an empathy test or something.
It's just some 12-year-old kid. It's not anything.
It's
real.
like, okay, you know, you walk past a tortoise and it's flipped upside down kind of thing. Like the Voight Kampff test from Blade Runner, you know, to test is someone human or not. Would they send a death threat or not over a bloody game delay?
Yeah, look, it's just a 12-year-old kid out there, some stupid idiot, you know, who'll think it was a bad idea later down the track. But I wish we didn't pay too much attention to that stuff because there's no real legs there. I do worry around streamers. Like, I think that's a huge problem in the making with stalking, like online stalking. But I don't think anything's going to happen to CD. I don't think people are going to go to Poland to implement their death threat. Like, I don't. Knock on wood.
But the problem is that leads to doxing. That leads to people actually contacting family members and friends of those developers. And that's
I
where
agree, but I think if you
slope.
publicize it, then it just makes it bigger. It gets more oxygen. That's what trolls feed off attention. You know, if you don't pay them attention, they just go away because it's not. They need the attention. That's oxygen for them. So I think the more people talk about it, and it's not us. Like, this has been widely reported, and the studio themselves talked about it. I wouldn't talk about it. Like, people get death threats all the time. It's just you don't hear about it because people understand. If you start talking about it, it actually attracts people like that.
But I like talking about it because I like just like talking about how
stupid they are,
how bad certain people in society can be when they're given essentially what they consider an anonymous, weapon.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, so I like calling that out, that's all.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah,
it makes me feel good about myself. Just don't take that away from me.
All right, well, and let's get into the other big news